Welcome back to La Marzocco's Coffee Encounters. Coffee Encounters is a show revolving around coffee, food, lifestyle, the company's history, together with live demos and much more. This new format is presented by La Marzocco Home in collaboration with Accademia del caffè, espresso, and published once a month on our YouTube channel. During the 5th episode, you'll discover more on the history of the GS3 and what's inside it. Also, do you know who really invented the flat white? Our marketing managers from New Zealand and Australia will be discussing this and not only. If you want to learn all the tips and tricks for pressure profiling on a GS3 MP, stay with us today. Was this enough to capture your attention? Well, this was only a taste. So stay with us today, relax, and enjoy venturing once again in the fascinating world of coffee.
Hi, I'm Silvia Bartoloni and I'm the Community Coordinator of Accademia del caffè, espresso. I'm really proud to be here today for this new chapter of Coffee Encounters to tell you the story of one of the most iconic technology that we have on our espresso machine, the GS system. This technology is a milestone that changed forever the standard of our business. We came out with the first GS machine in 1927, but maybe not everybody knows how this technology came out, how we get to this idea of innovation. Actually, we have this idea of a dual GS boiling system thanks to a failure, a machine called Poker. In 1963, La Marzocco was trying to create an hydraulic pressure system to replace the lever system that was a standard in the business in that period. The first idea was to start with the pressure made by steam. So Piero Bambi decided to add an extra boiler. The machine was too complicated, too many components, and every single component potentially could break or suffer for higher volume of espressos. So the machine was not exactly the best product of La Marzocco. But thanks to the analysis of that machine and that failure, Giuseppe and Piero Bambi arrived to understand that maybe that system was not the best, but having an extra boiler was giving them the freedom to handle the temperature in a different way. We have two boilers, a bigger boiler dedicated for steam, for the production of the steam. And then we have another boiler dedicated to the hot water for brewing coffee. In the steam boiler, we are free to add a temperature that is over 100 Celsius degrees. In the hot water boiler, we can handle the temperature in a range of 83-93 Celsius degrees. So as you see, there are different temperatures that are not matching. There is not a compromise in temperature that we have to reach in this way. GS stands for Gruppo Saturo, that is saturated brew. Why? Because it was not just important to have two different temperatures. It was really important to be sure that the temperature that was inside the boiler was the same temperature that was touching coffee in the portafilter. So Giuseppe and Piero, they created this system. Basically, you have three components: a boiler, a group neck, and a group head. These three components are connected and fill it up with water until saturation. What does it mean, saturation? It means that you don't have air in the system, you have just water, because air can be the only thing that affects temperature. Let's do an example. It's like having 3 rooms connecting by doors and no windows. Once you open the doors, the 3 rooms will reach the same temperature at a certain point. And it works the same with water. It's really easy, it's physics, it always works. So it's a perfect example of innovation and technology that is reliable. Obviously, the system we're using today is not the same system we used in 1970. We worked a lot to improve this system, but we wanted not to get it too complicated or to make it less reliable. So, just one example, now this system is all welded and is made in stainless steel. That is the best material that you can find for a boiler. The most important thing for us is the reliability of the machine. The fact that every single barista can watch the machine knowing that the machine is the best answer to his knowledge and to his professional skills. So even if it's something so technical, to us it's amazing to know that every single professional and La Marzocco baristas love this system and know even really technical aspect of it. It's a milestone that we try to improve every single day with our work and with every single effort of our R&D technical department. If you want to come to La Marzocco or Accademia del Caffè Espresso, you can see how the system works because we have a special department in our museum dedicated to it. I hope you enjoy this chapter of Coffee Encounter. Till the next time, goodbye.
Hi, I'm Andrea. Today I'm going to show you the GS3 and specifically what's inside a GS3. Here you can clearly see that we have a GS3 that is completely naked. So we've opened it in order to show you what's inside and where the water is passing through. We start, of course, from the water tank. So the water is getting sucked from the water tank to the pump. So the pump is sucking the water, and then the water is getting pushed through all the machine. Here we have a hot water mixing valve for the hot water wand. So this water can be used for Americanos or hot water beverage. Then, looking at the water is exiting here and is moving, going in two different ways. So one part is going through the coffee side, which is the flow meter. This is a component that is only present on the GS3 AV and is the one that measures the quantity of water that you will need for the espresso, so that allows you basically to register the dose. Then the water exits from the flow meter and enter into this component here. This is a mixing valve. This is where actually the water enter into a preheating system. So this is the preheater. Exit from the preheater really hot at more than 100 Celsius degrees. And here is getting mixed with the cold water that we had at the inlet. So it exits from here already at a temperature that is between 70 and 80 Celsius degrees, and then enters into the coffee boiler. So getting back to this part where we have the water that is splitting in two different ways, we follow the coffee side. Now let's follow the steam side. So water has to pass through this component that is called check valve, and then has to enter through this component, which is a solenoid valve. More precisely, it's a filling valve. So the water enters through the filling valve and then get into the steam boiler. But we do also have another component on the steam boiler, which is the vacuum breaker. On the other side of the machine, we do have a temperature probe, and then of course we have a heating element, which is the part that heats up the water, and then a water tap. This tap here is needed in order to empty the boilers in case it's needed. Inside the machine you will find also this part here. It's not actually a vessel, it's just a part that contains inside the safety valve. And it's actually needed in order to relieve the high pressure in case we surpass a certain temperature or pressure into the boiler. Last but not the least, we also see here a solenoid valve. This solenoid valve is the brewing valve. Basically, take the water out from the boiler, get the water into an internal pipe, and let the water go to the coffee pack. Then you see there's a pipe here that is the drain. So when you finish your extraction, the water that you used for your espresso will be drained through this pipe. Here, on the back of the machine, we have the electronic box. Here we have a CPU, an internal board that guides, basically it's the brain of all the machine. Still on the steam boiler, we have a pipe that is going straight to this part here, that is the steam valve. I hope that you enjoyed looking inside our GS3. And of course, please do not open your machine unless you are an authorized technician or there's a presence of an authorized technician next to you, because it's a thing that we, of course, do not want you to do. Just enjoy the espresso out of it. Ciao!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this very special episode of Coffee Encounters. As you know, the Accademia Kitchen wants to promote and to defend the food culture. And to do that, we are working shoulder to shoulder with our local suppliers. And we are very glad to be here today to the L'Unica del Mugello to introduce you one of our favorite suppliers. We are here today with Niccolò, who is the social media manager of L'Unica.
Hi everyone.
L'Unica is a company. It is located in Vicchio, near Borgo San Lorenzo, so very close to La Marzocco factory. So, Niccolò, tell us the first step of the process. What is?
The first step that is doing the wheat once that is coming here is actually going inside a sieve that separate the impurity from our wheat. Then we have another sieve as well that separate the heavy stone, the little stone from our seed you can see in this imaging.
Yes, and I guess that it is very important just to remove all this kind of impurity.
Yeah, to remove the stone is very, very important because this little stone actually raise up the level of ashes inside our flour, inside our final product. And so the quality as well is getting lower. So removing them, it permits us to keep a really high quality.
We make sure that all the impurities are removed.
Yes.
Good.
After that, we have the wheat that is having a long bath inside our stainless steel bags to remove even the dirt. Okay, so the little dust or everything else
so
that
everything
is
is
remaining after the sieve part. So we are able, after this process, to remove the outside shell in an easier way. This part is not wasted. We give this part to the producer, to the animal.
Producer, to feed
the animal producer. So we try our best to use everything of this process. After that, the wheat that is clean at this point is going inside our mill. We have a milestone. This is quite important for us because my uncle Luca was able to recover a very ancient milestone from our ancient mill.
So Niccolò, in the last part of the process is to?
The next step that is doing our flour at this point is in another sieve that permits us to control the granulometry of the flour. So basically we create different type of flour, and according to which one we want to create, we are able...
You decide how to grind it. Okay.
So Benedetta, as you do with your coffee, that you have different blend, we do the same with our flour, and that permits us to create different type of pasta as well, for example, or different type of flour.
So we just took some flour directly from our mill today.
So I'm sure you never try something as fresh as this.
No.
If you touch it, you can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
it's
quite,
not...
You can feel the little sandy part.
Yeah. So we are start to make our dough for the tagliatelle. What we are going to do today is something with coffee. Today we are making this special one with the liquid, with an espresso. So I will show you how to make it. We need to have our flour, of course, we need 2 eggs, and we need some good coffee, so an espresso. So we just use our organic eggs, they are at room temperature. And I start to add some coffee.
That's enough?
Yes, thank you. And at this stage we can go outside our bowl and we start to work it with hands. So once that your dough is ready, we just give it a rest for at least 30 minutes and then we are ready with our rolling pin. So we take some more flours and we start with our rolling pin. So this is also very good exercise. And once that you're ready with the result, it's up to you. It depends how thick do you want your tagliatelle. I prefer that they are a little bit thick, yes, to hurt it under the teeth.
Need to feel it.
Yes. We are going to cut them. Once that you are done, you just take them and open them this way, and you are ready to boil them. So we are ready. We have just boiled our pasta in salted water. And since the main ingredients for us, the principal ingredients is the flour in this dish, we just want to keep it simple. So just some good olive oil and a spoon of fresh ricotta. These are our fantastic tagliatelle that we made at our meal today. So Nicolò is ready with his fork and we are going to try this dish. I invite you always just to find the best ingredients that you can find, or also to buy it on L'Unica website if you want, and enjoy. Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Josie from Marzocco, New Zealand, and I'm a marketing manager. I'm here to talk with you a little bit about the flat white, who invented it, Australia or New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Jets. I'm the marketing manager for Marzocco in Australia. Here to talk with the lovely Josie from Marzocco, New Zealand about a few things about our markets.
What are the similarities between the Australia and New Zealand coffee scenes? I think the similarities between the Australia and New Zealand coffee scenes have a lot to do with the ease of travel between the two countries. We're really close. They're our closest neighbor, they're our trading partner. We have lots of Kiwis in the Marzocco Australia office. We have lots of Kiwis working in the coffee industry as barista in Australian cafes. We also have that similarity of when we think going out for coffee, we pair that with we're going out for some sort of food. The cafes have a really great food offering in both Australia and New Zealand. Really strong brunch scene. So you go out for a coffee and you're probably gonna have something really delicious by a really talented chef in both places.
I believe the similarities lie in the fact we both have quite temperate climates, which means we have really incredible produce produced here. We have some really amazing chefs that have figured out that working the long hours in the evenings perhaps isn't conducive to a good family lifestyle or just a lifestyle in general. And cafes have almost turned into a form of restaurant where you can have coffee and food pairings and have incredible seasonal produce. And I think New Zealand and Australia have a really strong similarity there. We also have a lot of customers, coffee roasters that roast across both sides of what we call the ditch. That's the Tasman Sea. And they have businesses on both sides of the Tasman, so have quite a similar flavour profile as well. Sometimes the blend might change, but the understanding and the interest in fresh roasted coffee is very common across both countries as well.
So, next question. What are the differences between the Australia and New Zealand coffee scene? I think the differences between the Australia and New Zealand coffee scene are apparent in just the size of the countries. New Zealand is a lot smaller than Australia, and we depend a lot on tourism for our hospitality. And that's been affected a lot because of the pandemic and because of immigration reforms that are coming into effect in New Zealand. We really love having foreigners come in and drink our coffee and experience our cafes, and we also really enjoy those foreign baristas coming in and sharing their culture and their ideas with our coffee community, and that's really influenced us a lot.
Some of the differences, I think, between Australia and New Zealand, I actually grew up in New Zealand, so it's quite interesting having moved to Australia about 15 years ago. I live in Melbourne, and in the 1950s, a lot of Italian and Greek immigrants moved to Australia and brought with them a really Mediterranean and European way of dining, eating outside, cafes, and a sense of celebration of moments over meals, over coffee. And I believe we have the largest Greek population outside of Greece, which is pretty incredible. But the idea of those street cafes and sitting outside and drinking an espresso is, to me, a quintessentially Australian thing. I think New Zealand definitely has that, but given the size of our country, I think Josie's just mentioned New Zealand has about 5 million. So Melbourne has 5 million in the city. So across the country, it's over 22 million. So quite a different culture and quite heavily influenced by European style of dining and something that's uniquely Australian because we can sit outside due to the weather up to 9 months of the year, which is sometimes the whole year if you live in Queensland. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Ooh, who invented the flat white? That's a tough one. We have Australians saying they invented it. We have New Zealanders saying they invented it. So all these people have their hands up saying that they invented it in the 1980s, but I don't know if we're ever really going to be sure who exactly it was. One thing we can be sure is it's something that was brought into the world of coffee by the Southern Hemisphere, and just the way that it's described, flat white, short black. We really love to clip words on this side of the world, so we say things like Arvo for afternoon. If you go to drop off some clothes at the Salvation Army, you might say the salvos. Just all kinds of really fun shortened words over here, which I find really interesting because I'm North American. You might hear my accent. But yeah, I definitely think it's something really cool that we've brought to the coffee industry and the coffee world.
Okay. Who invented the flat white is always a perennial battle. I think we in between Australia and New Zealand have a battle over a dessert that we both lay claim to called the pavlova, which is a big meringue with cream on it, and it's always who invented it first, and the flat white joins the list. Interestingly, just after what Josie said about shortening things, in Australia we'd often say a flatty, so I find that quite funny. What I heard many years ago when I was learning how to make coffee, that people in Australia wanted a stronger drink that was almost similar to drinking like a Americano with a splash of milk or an instant coffee, something really strong, tall and thin. And I think that sort of harkens back to when we have a break here, it's a smoke break and we call it a smoko, another shortening of words. And having that either cup of tea, which is very Commonwealth, we both live under the Commonwealth and the English Queen, and taking that break, having not necessarily a cigarette, but a cup of tea or coffee with friends is something, or colleagues, is something very quintessentially Australian in New Zealand. And the flat white kind of emulates that coffee in a way and is a good strong hit and something to keep you going through the morning to get to your lunch break. So I don't know, I'd like to say Australia invented it, but I'm also a Kiwi, so I'm happy if New Zealand claims that as well. The answer keeps eluding us.
Thanks for watching. Bye from New Zealand.
I wish I could see all of your faces, but lovely to meet you all and see you next time. Bye from Australia.
The GS3 MP continues to be the desired choice of the manual espresso machine world. Its unique ability to directly control the maximum flow rate and consequently pressure at the group head throughout extraction via the manual flow profiling paddle and the conical valve group head allows for an insatiable amount of brewing freedom for taste and flavour of espresso. Let's take a look at 3 coffees with various profiles and characteristics, each representative of the Australian roasting style. Using the GS3 MP, we're able to magnify each of the coffee's more desirable tasting notes and accentuate the overall structures of each in espresso form. Each shot will be produced with a double espresso. Our first coffee is a more developed and darker roast from Everyday Coffee. It is their Mucho Gusto blend and has been roasted 10 days ago. Following the simple 2:1 ratio and using traditional flow and pressure profile of 9 bars onto the coffee puck, what is produced is a well-balanced double espresso with strong body, however bitter acidity. Let's look at highlighting the better values of the acidity, removing the cocoa bitterness and smoothing out the body to a more refined point. Let's start our pressure initially at 8 bars, and as the shot is produced, let's look to gradually decrease the pressure to approximately 3 bars. This adjustment of flow rate and consequently pressure onto the coffee puck can be followed to create similar results for multiple coffees of a more developed and dark roast profile. This profile is similar to a more traditional lever espresso machine. Our next coffee is from A Coffee. It is a single origin from Ethiopia and it was roasted approximately 6 days ago. It's a less developed roast profile, looking to roast light in order to accentuate the floral characteristics of the bean. At first, using the same ratio as the previous darker roasted blend, the floral undertones are coming out with some sour characteristics. Using the GS3 MP's manual flow control, we're able to balance this extraction by pre-infusing the first stage of the brew, setting the puck pressure at 2 to 3 bars until the first drop. As the first drop hits the cup, let's open the flow rate up and boost the pressure onto the puck to around 8 to 9 bars until the end of the extraction. This pressure profile allows for a decrease in sour characteristics and an elevated body structure. Our final coffee is from 7 Seeds. It is a blend of Colombia and Brazil and has been roasted 7 days ago. This roast is more of a modern day roast profile, well-rounded and structured to produce a coffee enjoyed both with and without the addition of milk. At first brew, the notes of hazelnut, milk chocolate, caramel are noted, with the addition of a softer body. Let's look to accentuate these flavours whilst smoothing out the body and structure of your espresso through flow control and pressure profiling. For this brew, we will utilise both pre and post infusion, as seen in the previous 2 coffees. What we are left with is a well-rounded, fantastically smooth and well-structured double espresso. So there you have it, 3 different coffees from 3 different roasters with 3 different roast profiles, all with amazing individual characteristics. The GS3 MP allows you to brew any way you want with any beans you want. The choice is yours. Happy brewing. Boom!
Ciao! We have changed the scenery because it's simply so beautiful here. Look at the luxury of this view. It's the perfect place to talk about the Aeropress. So the Aeropress was invented 2005 by a gentleman called Adler, and it's really good for outdoor activities because you can't basically destroy it. It's very small and compact. The Aeropress functions like a huge syringe. So it consists of a part where you have a filter, paper filter holder, or you can even find some metal filters on the market. You have a plunger and then you pull through the plunger. The idea of Mr. Adler when designing the Aeropress was to have a coffee which doesn't have bitterness and which is like a combination of espresso and filter coffee. Initially, he was using it to do espresso-like beverage, which was a concentrate produced with pressure, but of course manual pressure. We just let it steep. Meanwhile, I will grind some coffee. I will quickly grind it. This we can cut together. I'm using 16 grams of coffee. As it's afternoon and it's very mild, I have chosen a coffee for Guatemala. Either you insert the filter here and you pose it on your vessel and you push it through like this immediately, or you use the so-called inverted method, which means you insert the plunger a little bit and you prepare the Aeropress like this. I really like the inverted method because for me it's simply way more easier to handle. It's very aromatic. So I'm gonna insert my coffee, and as soon as I start to pour the water, I start the timer. As I was saying, I'm using 16 grams of coffee, and as I said before, the Aeropress contains maximum 230 milliliters. So I'm pouring almost to the rim. Then I put my filter on the top and make sure it's closed. And then I have to wait a little bit. Again, patience. I'm gonna wait 2 minutes, and as soon as I reach 2 minutes, I will change the position and the Aeropress and push it in my vessel, or you can use directly your cup. Now I have reached 2 minutes, so I give it a swirl, turn it around, and then I only gently press the coffee, slow down because I want to do this in half a minute. I don't push through entirely because I don't want to have all the fines. So I can fully enjoy it myself. The nice thing on the Aeropress is it's very easy to clean. So once you finish your Mirinda, you can only you remove the holder and you can pop out the whole coffee and you have a compact pack. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed, I think you enjoyed more the view than my small excurse in the world of Aeropress. You definitely should come here one day because it's even more beautiful in reality. Ciao from the terrace from Accademia.
For our literary corner, today we present a book in Italian, possibly the most comprehensive, the simplest, and even the least expensive compendium available in Italian. It is published by Slow Food and written by James Hoffmann. A few words about the author. James Hoffmann is a barista. He has won the World Barista Championship in 2007 and has written a book that has possibly achieved cult status in the world of coffee, The Atlas of Coffee. This, instead, is a book he wrote in 2014. It is much more comprehensive and easier to read. It deals with both technical and operational matters. It is divided into 3 main parts. The first part is an introduction to the world of coffee, thus it deals with botany, with the origins and with the varieties of coffee. They exist in all varieties, but also mainly the new ones. The second part instead deals with the brewing systems, thus it deals with our espresso machine but also with the filter methods, so it's very comprehensive. The third part instead, possibly the most important and interesting, deals with the origins, thus it illustrates all African coffees, all African countries, all Asian countries, as well as all American countries that are definitely very, very interesting. The nice thing about this book is that it's suitable for beginners who are just taking their first steps in the world of coffee and for professionals alike. It is a very simple book but very well written. It includes a part dealing with botany, but above all a part about the origins, with beautiful pictures that greatly help the reader to understand where coffee is cultivated. It is possibly one of the most comprehensive and user-friendly books available in Italian, suitable for beginners and professionals alike. It is a book that should be recommended even for its price, which is very affordable and very interesting. The book is available in our library, here at Accademia del Caffè Espresso. However, it's published by Slow Food. Slow Food is a foundation that deals with high-end quality products such as food. It publishes very interesting books about food, and coffee is obviously part of the line. See you next and have a good day, everybody.
Buona giornata a tutti.